Yo, what's good, YouTube? I'm Ramir, a professional recording engineer, artist, producer, and songwriter. And today I'm going to teach y'all how to get started recording in Pro Tools if you're a beginner. You're new to Pro Tools or you need some help, because I know me, when I first got Pro Tools, it took me forever to learn how to start recording. So I want to jumpstart the process for y'all so you don't have the same issues I had. So let's get straight into it. So when you open up Pro Tools, you should see a screen like this. Sketch and session. We gonna go to session. Type in YouTube recording tutorial. Alright. So and now you see prompt for location, or you can save a location. Prompt for location, if you hit create, it'll pop up a location for you to save. You'll just put YouTube recording tutorial. See, I done tried to attempt this a couple of times. Pro Tools acting kind of buggy today. So this is from scratch. So the first thing we want to do is set up our playback engine. There we go. Took forever to come up. And we're going to choose Universal Apollo for the sake of this tutorial. That's what I'm going to use. Hit yes. When you choose a playback engine, it's going to restart your session. I'm going to hit no, I don't need a detail. Alright, that's for if you welcome Dolby Atmos. So we got our blank recording template. So another thing you probably want to do when you first start is just make sure you go on your input and output paths and hit default, and it'll automatically set your output and inputs to the parameters of your audio interface. Right? So let's just hit OK. You could do the same thing for buses too. I'm gonna leave buses alone right now. So to create a new track, you can either go up here in the track and click, or you can hit the shortcut. I'm always a fan of shortcuts to save time in the menus. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make 10 audio tracks. We're going to need a stereo master fader. So this is the fader that controls the whole session. Then I'm gonna add, for the sake of this, man, I'm gonna add like maybe 4 auxes, stereo auxiliary tracks. And this is gonna be for our effects, like our reverbs, our delays, anything to that effect. So go and hit create. So for one of these, we have to make, you can name it instrumental, beat, whatever. Make a track for your actual instrumental, right? And then we're going to make a track for recording. So this track is specifically just for recording. And how I'm renaming them, I'm just going in and I'm double clicking the audio track where the name is. You can rename it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring my master fader up. I usually like to have my master fader at the top. So my output is showing play I 1 and 2. Monitor left and right. That's gonna be our output path. So we're gonna get to these auxes later. So this is what I wanted to show you. So if you wanna record, so what I usually do when I record, so we gonna have to go input, find whatever line or mic input that your mic is plugged into on your audio interface. For me right now, it's plugged into mic hotline Z1. Bam. So I'm gonna mute this because I have my monitor input on my Apollo at the moment. Can't see it. Bring it up. Yeah, so I have this one right now. So I'm gonna mute it in my actual session, but usually I would mute it in here. Actually, let's just do that for the sake of this tutorial. You're gonna stop hearing me for a while. So we're gonna mute it here. Unmute me here. So now, this is where we can record. So when recording vocals, what I usually do is 2 shortcuts. If you have a big keyboard with the numeric keypad, you could just hit 3. And you're recording. Check, 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 check. See the wave file coming up. We're recording audio on Pro Tools. Right? Bam. So we're able to get audio. So what I usually do is I record. I will name all my tracks. Like I will probably name this lead. And I'll name another one lead. I usually keep 2 lead vocal tracks because when you're starting to get clients and you're actually, lead 2 actually, and you're actually starting to get clients and you're engineering, some artists like to punch in, and it's hard to punch in the same track. So I have a track specifically for recording, so I can just drag this down. You know what I'm saying? Boom. Right? Need to make another track. They punch in. Boom. And I always hold control. So when I click on the actual file, that will stop the clip from moving out of place if you hold down control while you drag it down. So say they want to cut another line. Boom. Right? Need to make another track. You know what I'm saying? You could just drag it down. And the neck. You see what I'm saying? So that's a gist. So say if you want to import a beat, there's a couple ways you can import a beat. You can drag and drop. So I'm going to drag and drop. Let's see. I'm going to find one of my own beats from my projects. Hear what this sound like. Maybe this is bounced. Okay. So boom. Well, we got an issue. And this is actually good that we ran across this issue. Because you see how it's coming in my recording track. And you see it's 2. Even though it's 2 tracks, this track is trying to come in both of these tracks. That's because this is a stereo track. Press Shift Command N to create another track. And make this stereo. And actually, let's name the stereo track Beat, because they're not going to let us name an instrumental again. Beat. And we can actually just get rid of this. Right click and delete this instrumental track. Now let's try this again. Bam. And I usually like working with WAV files when I'm recording. But we could just drag that in. Another way you can do that is File, Import Audio, or Shift Command I. It's the shortcut. When you do that, we just go wherever the file is. I like to make it a list because it's easier for me to find as a list all of my stuff. Open a project, go, I'm saying convert, click open, and it will load this up in a new track for you. But I like to just click and drag my Audio files are grayed out right now. Actually, not sure why, but it sound. Let's see if click waveforms a little smaller. So yeah, you can see the waveforms, and this beats are usually OD loud. So what I like to do for the beat track, I usually like lower this at least 3 dB, sometimes more. We'll keep it at 4. So yeah, so now you got your beat loaded. So you can, like I said, hit either 3, or you can hit Command Space Bar is the shortcut to record, because you don't want to have to keep coming up here and hitting record and then hitting play. You know what I'm saying? You got to click twice. Save time, use shortcuts. Yo, yo. Yeah. So the beat is too loud, so I'm actually lower the beat. Yeah, yeah. And I can actually go up on my preamp on. Yeah, yeah. Feel me? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, saying we got our vocal recorded, so that's how you basically record a vocal. So usually I like to at least have a reverb in my chain to make my vocals have a little sauce. So what you'll want to do, instead of putting a reverb directly on the track, so I see I recorded that. Once we record, we'll drag that down. But instead of putting a reverb directly on the track, which I used to do when I was a rookie and I first started recording, I'll put everything directly on the track. Right? So now let's play it back. So the beat is too loud, so I'm actually going to beat. Yeah, yeah. So you see it's drowning in reverb. Usually it's a gyrette knob right here, so you could just bring the gyrette knob down if you do put it directly on. But the reason we don't want to put it directly on, because if we have more tracks and we want reverb on all of the tracks, we have to put an instance of reverb on every track, and that takes a lot of computer processing if you're using so many plugins, and it'll cause latency issues if you're trying to record. So what we want to do is put it on an auxiliary track. So let's put this reverb on aux 1. Reverb, deverb, right? And so what we'll do, we can just go to our send bus. No, actually, this is what we need to do. We need to assign auxiliary 1 to a bus. So go to bus 1 and 2, and our input. Assign your input to bus 1 and 2. That's your reverb. You can even name this verb. This is what helps me stay organized, is naming all my tracks. I'm kind of not trying to make this tutorial be too long, so I'm skipping a few steps. But yeah, name everything. You can even rename bus 1 and 2 to reverb. So you know for yourself, right? So now, when you go to send and you want a reverb on here, you could just go to bus, verb, and you can send as much reverb with this fader as you want to your vocal. So the beat is too loud, so I'm actually lower the beat. Yeah, yeah. And I can actually go up on my preamp sound. Yeah, yeah. Feel me? Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, so you got the gist of that. And like I said, if the beat is too loud, just lower it. Sometimes you don't need to turn your vocals up because you don't want to clip and you want clean audio. So you see where I'm at right now. You kind of wanted to stay in this green area when you're recording your vocals. You don't really want it going into the yellow and orange and red. It could go into yellow a little sometime, but you usually typically want it to stay green. If it's getting out of this area, your vocals probably a little too hot. That's it really. That's how you record vocals in Pro Tools. And that's the basics. If you want more tutorials like this, how to get started recording in Pro Tools, leave a comment below. First tutorial, subscribe to the channel, like this video if it was helpful. I'm out.